David Gower. The name alone whispers elegance. In an era filled with blood, sweat, and fierce competition, Gower was the odd genius who walked into the battlefield with a glass of wine in one hand and a feather-light bat in the other. He wasn't there to fight. He wasn't there to battle. He was there to perform, to glide across the pitch, to charm the crowd, and to make cricket look more like ballet than sport. David Gower came from a family that didn't just admire sport, they lived it. His father Richard Gower had won a hockey blue at Cambridge, which says a lot about the sporting pedigree David inherited. But David was different. While others trained hard and pushed themselves, David, well, he just had it. That thing. That unteachable natural grace. From his school days at King's School, he was already being whispered about. Not as the next boycott or the next Cowdrey, but as someone entirely different. Someone who played cricket as if it were art. When Gower made his Test debut against Pakistan in 1978, he did not ease into international cricket. He just slipped in like it was the most natural thing in the world. His very first scoring shot was a pull of Sarfaraz Nawaz to the mid-wicket boundary. Not a push, not a jab, a pull. On debut, against a seasoned pace bowler. That stroke alone was enough to make John Arlott exclaim, "Oh, what a princely entry!" And truly it was. Gower's innings of 58 was fluent, flowing, and a clear preview of what was to come. Not long after, he followed it up with another elegant half-century at Lord's. And then, when New Zealand toured later that summer, Gower brought up his maiden Test century, gracefully and almost inevitably, as if it was simply meant to happen. And then came the Ashes tour of 1978-79. The Aussies were under strength, yes, but Gower still cashed in with another 100. That was quickly followed by his first major statement, an unbeaten 200 against India at Edgbaston. A double century that wasn't loud, but smooth and scintillating. But if you thought that was his peak, think again. In 1981, during one of the most brutal tours in the Caribbean, Gower played one of the bravest knocks of his career. 154 not out at Kingston. England were 32 for 3 against Holding, Garner, Croft and Robert, the stuff of fast bowling nightmares. And yet, Gower stood tall, unshaken, unhurried. He especially went after Croft with confidence and style, launching a counter-attack that was both brave and elegant. In doing so, he didn't just pull England back from the brink. He shattered the myth that he was all style and no steel. Let's be honest, David Gower's batting was less technique and more theatre. He wasn't a batsman, he was a performance artist. His drives through the offside did not just reach the boundary, they took your breath away on the way there. That signature cover drive, it was like watching Roger Federer hit a one-handed backhand. Flawless, timeless, untouchable. And when he cut or pulled, it wasn't violence, it was ballet. There was no muscle, no noise, just rhythm and beauty. He did not believe in brute force. While others muscled the ball, Gower merely whispered it away. His bat was a paintbrush, his shots, brush strokes. And even when the fastest bowlers in the world charged in, Gower did not flinch. Instead, he just leaned in and timed the ball past fielders who barely saw it go. That's why Dennis Lillee, yes, that Dennis Lillee, rated him only behind Viv Richards, Gary Sobers and Barry Richards in terms of natural brilliance. That's high praise from a man who made a living terrorizing batsman. But with Gower, the fear was never mutual. He didn't play them, he danced with them.
The best English batsman I've played with, wonderful to watch, a destroyer of high-class bowling.
And yet, for all that beauty, there was a twist. The tragic irony in the Gower story was his inconsistency. As dazzling as he was, he also had a habit that left fans and captains alike tearing their hair out, getting out after doing the hard part. He'd survive the toughest spells, play 5 shots straight out of a dream, and then casually nick a wide one like he was bored of batting. His laid-back style, which made him such a joy to watch, was often mistaken for carelessness. And to be fair, Gower didn't do much to change that perception. He wore blue socks instead of regulation white, played practical jokes, and once even flew a biplane over a match in which his team was playing. The media roasted him, called him nonchalant, devil-may-care, even infuriating. Wisden described him as fluffy-haired, ethereal-looking, who played beautifully until the moment he made a mistake. That about sums it up. But here's the thing, on fast tracks, against genuine pace, he was lethal. Better arguably than Azharuddin or Zaheer Abbas. And in terms of pure talent, he was almost Lara's equal. Seriously, had he matched out his potential, we'd be talking about a guy with an average over 50 and 30 test centuries. Easy. Almost certainly in the top dozen most naturally gifted batsmen of all time. But maybe he didn't want that. Maybe he was happy being brilliant his way. Now, don't let the laid-back attitude fool you. Gower could lead too. He captained England on a rare and successful tour of India in 1984-85. Tough conditions, spinning tracks, humid days, and came home with a series win. That's no small feat, but the crown jewel of his captaincy was the 1985 Ashes. England won 3-1, and Gower, he scored over 700 runs in the series. Not just leading with calm authority, but with the bat, with class, with dominance. It was his finest summer. The critics quieted down, for a while at least. So, how did it all add up? Gower played 117 test matches, scoring 8,231 runs at an average of 44.25. He scored 18 test centuries and 39 50s. In ODIs, he added another 3,170 runs. At the time of his retirement, those 18 test centuries were the most by any Englishman. And here's a stat you probably didn't know. David Gower holds the record for the most consecutive test innings without a duck. 119. That's not flash, that's grit. So, how good was David Gower? He was maddening and magical. A prince who sometimes forgot to wear his crown. A man whose genius was so casual, it felt like he didn't even know he had it. He could have been greater, more centuries, a higher average, fewer lazy dismissals, of course. But then, would he still be David Gower? Would we still remember him the same way? Probably not. Because Gower wasn't just about stats, he was about style. He reminded us that cricket, for all its grind, could still be a thing of beauty. David Gower wasn't perfect, but he was unforgettable. And in the end, isn't that what greatness really is? So guys, that's it for today's video. If you wish to look at how good was Ian Botham or Kevin Pietersen, click on the videos being displayed on your screen. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe to my channel for more videos like this. Until next time, keep watching this beautiful game. See you soon.